Hey, if you missed the previous video on Bible genres, be sure and stop now. Go back and check that out. That'll help set up what we're going to talk about today. So, when you're first getting started, do you often wonder, where do I start? How do I get started? I got a tip for you. Start by looking for the obvious things, the things that are just clear. For example, people and places. People, places, and sometimes even events. If you'll look for those things and mark them, that'll begin to give you the foundation and the groundwork for studying. So why people? Well, people is obviously, it's about real people. Sometimes we call them Bible characters as if they're fictional. Yes, there are some stories in the Bible that are fictional, parables and things like that, but most of the Bible is narrative. It's about people, real people. And so when you're reading through a text, you want to slow down and you want to mark the people. Now, there's different ways to do this. If you're marking an epistle, reading through a letter, like from Paul to Timothy, you're going to mark the author, which is Paul, and you're going to mark the recipient, which is Timothy. Or if it's a church, Paul to Thessalonians, you'll mark Paul and all the pronouns. You don't want to miss the pronouns. You'll mark them the same way. And then you want to mark the recipient, the Thessalonians, and you'll mark their pronouns as well in the same way, so that when you look at your text, you're going to have two different colors or two different symbols going on, and you'll begin to see who they are about. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to look at John chapter 4, and I got a couple of verses for you, 7 through 10. Now, normally I would show this to you in my Bible, but I've already marked it in my Bible. So I've printed out this sheet here, and we're going to mark John 4, 7 to 10, and we're going to look and see who are the people here. So let's start reading in verse 7. A woman from Samaria came to draw water, and Jesus said to her, "Give me a drink." So who do we see? Well, we see this woman, so we're going to use a pink circle, and we're going to circle the woman. A woman came from Samaria to draw water, and Jesus said to her, so there's the pronoun, "Give me a drink." Now, who else is in this sentence? Well, we have Jesus. So with a different color, we're going to mark Jesus. And so we're just going to underline him in red. So a woman came from Samaria to draw water. Jesus said to her, "Give me," so that's the pronoun, "a drink." Now let's continue to mark and read. Verse 8, for his disciples had gone away. Who the his? Well, it's Jesus's. So for Jesus' disciples had gone away into the city to buy food. The Samaritan woman, okay, so that's this woman right here. So the Samaritan woman, so we're going to circle her in pink, said to him, Jesus, put a cross. Let's do crosses. I like that. That's how I mark it in my Bible. So the Samaritan woman said to him, "How is it that you, being a Jew, ask for a drink from me?" Okay, that's the woman. "A woman of Samaria. For Jews have no dealings with Samaritans." Jesus, okay, so we're going to do our red cross there. Jesus answered her, "If you," so it's the woman, "if you knew the gift of God and who it is that is saying to you, 'Give me a drink,'" so who's the me? It's Jesus. "Give me a drink," you, woman, would have asked him, Jesus, and he, Jesus, would have given you, woman, a living water. Okay, so a couple of things to think about here. We have two different colors going on, so we can already tell there's only two people in this story. We've marked them both, and so we see that Jesus is speaking to a woman of Samaria. Now, one of the reasons we want you to mark is to slow you down. Y'all, the temptation when you're studying the Bible is to get it done as quick as you can, get the application, and go with it. But as we've talked about in previous videos, observation, interpretation, and application are the three components of inductive Bible study. Observation is the foundation. It's everything sits on that foundation, like a foundation of a house. And you want to be careful and you want to go slow. And so marking actually slows you intentionally down as you read through it. And for example, I probably would have read this at least twice, if not 3 times, once all the way through, not do anything. The second one, marking the first person, the woman, and then the third time, marking Jesus. And you see what's happening is I'm reading it over and over again, slowly and intentionally. So let's talk about marking people and events. When we think about people and events, we also want to think about what's going on. So when we look at this, we have Jesus, where is he? He's at this well, and he's getting this water to drink. We also have an event here of saying that Samaritans and Jews don't interact. And so we're already starting to get some clues about what's going on. 3 different ways you want to think about marking the people and places. When you're looking for epistles, as we already talked about, you're going to look for the author and the recipient, and then you also want to at least underline anybody else that's mentioned, and that'll make it come off the page of there are people being talked about. When you're doing narratives, you want to mark all those as well, and you sometimes want to mark tribes as well as individuals in doing that. And then, of course, in poetry and things like that, you're going to be marking the author, like in the Psalms. You're going to be marking his enemies or his friends, any people. But the key is you want to mark them the same way. So you don't want to confuse your marking. So everything about the author, one color, everything about the enemies, for example, a different color, or symbols, however you want to use, it's all up to you. But when you mark those, now you can see, if I look at this text, I can see this is a conversation going on. So what do we do next? Well, once you've done your marking, now you want to go back through and you want to interrogate the text. This is asking the 5 W's and an H. What are the 5 W's and H? Who, what, when, where, why, and then the H is how. These are all questions. You'll let the text determine the questions. And so as we're looking at it, we could say, who was from Samaria? Well, it was the woman. Where did they go? Well, they went to, the disciples had gone into the city to buy the food. The woman is at the well. What is Jesus saying to her? Well, if you knew who I was, if you knew the gift of God and who was saying to you, give me drink, you would have asked him. He would have given you living water. And so you can begin to just interrogate that text. Let me illustrate it this way. Say I go to a party and for some reason my wife is unable to attend. When I get back home, we're going to have a great conversation. It's almost like she's going to interrogate me. Who was there? What did you see? What were they wearing? How's their job going? And they begin to ask me, and I would walk through all the people that I talked to, and she would kind of, jokingly interrogate me of who did I meet? The same way when we're studying the scriptures, we want to know, who is he talking about? Who's talking? Who are they talking to? What's going on? What events are happening? What locations are there? We're just going to begin to interrogate the text in a very similar way. So if you think about it like that, and you use John 4:7-10, I'd encourage you, print it out, try it out for yourself, and begin to just ask the questions and do it. Don't forget to mark pronouns. So we're back to 8th grade English. Don't forget your pronouns, so go back in there and mark those and do it. Always mark them the same way. And then use those markings to begin to go and ask. So you can see here on the sheet, the woman stands out in these pink circles. So I would simply look through, and what do I see? Well, I see she's from Samaria. I see that she came to draw water. I see that she understands that a Jew shouldn't ask a drink from a woman of Samaria because Jews have no dealings with Samaritans. I would see that she did not know who she was talking to. If you knew the gift of God and who it is that's saying to you, give me a drink. So she's not knowing that. All I'm doing is I'm slowing down and I'm questioning the text and interrogating the text to better understand it. So here's something I want you to think about trying. 2 different books, you ought to try this out. One from the Old Testament. Go look at the book of Ruth. Very short book, and simply just mark the people and places and events that you see, as we've done here together, and then just go back through and interrogate the text. Who is Ruth? Who is Naomi? Who's Boaz? Why are they together? What's going on? When was this? And you'll begin to see your understanding of that text. You won't need a commentary. You won't need a preacher to tell you what does this mean. You will discover it for yourself. Once you finish Ruth, then go to the New Testament. I got a real short one for you. It's Philemon. It's in the New Testament. You'll have to go look it up. It's only 1 chapter. Again, mark who is writing and who is he writing to and what is said. And you begin to see some of these events. And I'm telling you, it's a great way to jump in and to get your feet wet and starting to study God's Word for yourself. Next up, and our next video is going to be on marking key repeated words. You don't want to miss that one. So that's the same kind of concept we just did, but we're looking for key repeated words. We'll explain those and we'll illustrate it for you as well. So since we are marking people and places, we would love to hear who are your favorite. If you will, leave it in the comment, the people that mean the most to you in Scripture and why. We'd love to read about it.